Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name is Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. So things are back to normal after my holiday. In fact, it feels like a long time since I was away. Um, Lots of great memories, and now I have paid the deposit for my 2024 trip. So now have that to look forward to and plan, even though it is a long way in the future, but I'm sure it'll come around much quicker than I think. We have had very varying weather this week. We've had a couple of really hot days strung together, like really hot, like 38. And then we've had cool and wet and misty rainy days, which is not surprising for Melbourne in summer or any time of the year, really. So on those really hot days, it was even too hot to get out early in the morning. Like by the time you're awake, like unless you're getting up super early, like before the sun rose, if even at 8 o'clock, it was too hot in the morning to actually go out and do anything. Because I'd like to try and get out early in the morning and get the sheep some food, either grain or hay, before the day gets too hot. But mostly what I was doing was actually waiting until the evening. So 7, 8, wandering over once the sun had gone down and wasn't quite so severe anymore, and refilling their water, giving them hay, watering the plants, and popping the sprinkler onto the grass for a while to try and give it a bit of a boost. And then we had a couple of days of rain, so that has also helped with the paddock. The section where we have been putting the sprinkler on, you can see has made quite a bit of difference, which is good. So it's maintaining some feed in there. So I'm just having to make sure that I feed Vito a little bit extra because he doesn't have a lot of grass, and the sprinkler is actually too powerful to be in that small space. It kind of wets too much of the space. So what I have been doing is like standing there and watering the grass in there in sections, just keeping the hose on there for a little while, and also using the watering can to fill up his drinking trough. And he loves how the water falls down, and he drinks from it, from the fall of the watering can. So he enjoys that in the evening when it's warm as well. That's really all I've done farm wise this week. It's kind of been a settling back in week, and just nice to have those evenings out with the sheep. It's been back into work this week. I have done a full stock take of all of my colorways and made sure that what I actually have in stock matches what I have on the website. Very important for sales because you don't want to sell something that you don't have. I did have a little panic attack this week. There was a sale that came through, and I thought that I had sold the items on the weekend at the Tea Time Yarn Retreat Market, but luckily I had more than I thought I did. So, phew. So yeah, this past weekend I was at a Tea Time Yarn Retreat Market. It was another really good weekend away for me. Just a little sneaky, quick pause, even after my holiday, just to go up to Creswick and then to pop over to Dalesford for the market on the Saturday. So that was really great. And now I really have to get back into dyeing so I can replenish my stocks. This week I dyed 3 different colorways in reasonably large batches for me. So I've done Pine Lime Spliced, Teal Not Green, and Gumball Machine. So they're drying now. And then my plan is that next week I should probably get 2 big batches done. I'm working through sort of 3 or 4 colors at a time and doing larger quantities. Previously what I was doing was I would do 1 pot of one color, and now I'm doing 2 pots of each color so that I hopefully get some consistency in the batches rather than doing the smaller ones. I think that seems to be working. So I'm writing out a list of the colors that I would like to dye and the order that I'm going to do them in so that I am most efficient in terms of using my burners and pots, and also the colors of dye stock that I am preparing so that it all kind of works together. And with my calendar up on the wall and my list of dye colors, I'm hoping that I can gradually build up my stock put some into the web shop straight away and keep some back for markets as they come up throughout the year, so that I am reasonably prepared and not having to do some crazy lots of dyeing over multiple days right close to when a market is. I don't want to put myself into a stressful situation, so I'm just going to try and be quite planned out and gradually build up my stock so that I can be prepared for the markets that I know that I am going to be doing this year. The other part of that plan is that once I have a batch dry, I need to finish it. And by finish it, I mean I need to rescan, photograph, and label and put it into my tubs. What I get myself into is a situation where I have a whole lot of dry yarn, like a big massive pile of it, and then I have to do all the rescaling and labeling all at once. And it's not good for your shoulders. It's not good for your back because you're bending over to do all of the rescanning and the labeling and all that kind of thing. So I need to do it in smaller batches and to get what I have dry done and ready and put away so that it's part of my stock to go. Yeah, that was probably my biggest learning in terms of my process from last year. I know it's not the fun part, and it actually is probably the most time consuming part. Um, and maybe I think it's the most time consuming because I left it and did a whole lot all at once. Whereas if I just did it in smaller batches, it wouldn't be quite so bad. So that is my aim for this year. So the stuff that's drying that I can see just over here now, as soon as that's dry, I'm going to do all of that stuff and get it away. I may have started another batch in terms of the dye, but once that's dry, that has to happen for that stuff. So I will report back and let you know how I go with that. But that is my aim for what I want to try and get into a real good cycle of finishing all the way through. This week, I've actually got a few finished objects to show you. Some things that have been on the needles for quite a while, but they're done. So before I left for the cruise, I was motivated to finish my Nuvum, which I've had on the needles for a really long time. I would say like 6 years, because I needed the needle size. And I also wanted to get the cables back that it was on. So I started to finish it, but because it was hundreds of stitches, it took way longer than I thought it was going to take. So I got a few rounds done, and I was probably about a third of the way through the bind off before I left for holidays. So this past week, I finished the bind off, which took a really long time. So it's going to be really hard to see because it is black and it is also really, really massive. I still need to weave in the ends, but here it is. So it's a merino and silk, it's lace weight, it's black, and it is massive. And you can see me through, so you can see how light it is. It's really, really beautiful. And as I said, I think last week I might have said, it is actually was knitted for someone that I used to work with. So when it's properly done, I'm going to send her a message and see if we can catch up for coffee. And I'm going to gift this to her, finally. I've also finished 2 pairs of socks. Yes. So I finished my opal self-striping socks. I put in the contrasting heel in the Shock Me colorway by Melbourne City Dye Works. And yeah, I'm really happy with those. They turned out quite matchy-matchy. With the rest of the ball, I probably won't end up matching them, and I'll just do some shorty socks. So they will be probably on the needles in a little while. I've actually cast on another sock, of course I have, which I'll show you in a minute, and it's something completely different. So those ones. I also finished the 2 at a time socks that I'd been working on, that had been had sort of as an example for my sock knitting classes. So I probably need to cast on something for that as well. I did these different colors and different contrasting colors. This one is Princess of Pink, which is one of my colorways, and this is Brown Streams and Soft Dim Skies. So it's also good to have some examples of my own colorways knit up into socks as well. So I started another sock. This time I decided that I would try half-baked hand-dyed self-striping. This is the colorway from the cruise that it was exclusive in the goodie bag. And I have cast on the toe of the first one and just started to knit straight on that one. I'm hoping that I can get them to match. I'm not entirely sure how much of this pink there was, like where it started from. So I'll need to really play around with the cast on so that I end up with similar striped socks. I like my first pair of self-striping socks from a ball to be completely matchy, and then I kind of change it up a little bit. So the second one might be a little bit fiddly at the cast on, but that's okay. I haven't worked on this week, but I did while I was on the cruise, so I thought I would show you now because I probably will work on it again this coming week. This is the Swish Scarf by Tennis Fibre Arts, and as you can see, I've got this line. It's probably easier to see on this side, going up the side. I did make a little boo-boo here. It's probably where I think I purled instead of knit, or didn't slip and knit them when I should have. I don't know. So anyway, I might just do a duplicate stitch over the top of that because that's while I was away and I wasn't going to drop it down. And it's only on the edge. It's not actually in the brioche pattern. But yeah, it's looking very cool. I'm enjoying it, and it's not that hard to remember because you do the same decreases all the way along. You just do it either side of the marker, decrease and increase, and then once you get all the way to the end, then you do the same decrease and increase all the way back the other way. So you just sort of have to know which one you're doing, and away you go. I've also done quite a bit of work on my Ramuri sweater. I have almost done the complete body. I've got a tiny ball of the light grey, purple, whatever colour it is. It looks different in different lights. And so I've tried it on, and it is now at a length that looks good for my body. And I have started to do the ribbing in the mosaic contrast colour. And I have a tiny ball left, so I need to wind that into two, or at least wind it into a center pull ball so that I can do the sleeves two at a time, as much as I can do in that light color. And then I'll finish off with some ribbing around the edge in that contrast color as well. I was always intending to only do short sleeves, so it'll just be how I can make it sit at a good length with the two colors that I have to get them the best fit. So we'll just that's going to be a little bit of experimentation, I think, with the sleeves. So I've got a few more rows of the body ribbing to do. Then I will split that yarn and I will get onto the sleeves. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm.